let's turn now to the last verse, which is the one that's going to be talking about the Holy Spirit. It's 1 Corinthians 12:11. So let's drop down and look at this verse. Paul says, all these, he's talking about these gifts of the Spirit. If we were to go back up to verse 4, now there are varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit, things like that. You guys, this is a very familiar passage, the gifts of the Spirit, but not the fruit of the Spirit, but the gifts of the Spirit. Different passage. So it's within that context that in verse 11 he says all these, right? Speaking of the people and the giftings and all these miracles and things that we see about in verse 10 and prior to that, in verse 11 he says all these are empowered by one and the same Spirit, who apportions to each one individually as he wills. This word wills in the English is not the Greek word thelema. It's not just something that he hopes will happen, but it could be changed based on the reaction of the people that the Spirit's interacting with. It's not that Greek word that we saw, will, there. It's a different word. Which word do you think it is? You think it's thelema, or do you think it's boule? Yeah, you guys know where I'm going with this. Let's go back to it. If we look right over here in the Greek, it's bouletai, right? It's the same Greek word. It's the Strong's number 1014. So let's just look at the Greek and pull it up real quick. Well, first, before I pull that, if you look at most English versions, I find it interesting that when it talks about the Holy Spirit, in the English it uses the personal pronoun he, as he wills, right? But you guys already know that there are Unitarian groups out there, such as Jehovah's Witnesses, who don't think that the Holy Spirit is a person. They think he's an impersonal force of God, an impersonal action or attribute of God, like electricity or something like that. So what do you think they're going to say when it comes to this particular verse? Let me just jump to their translation first. The Jehovah's Witnesses are going to say in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 11, let me just pull up their verse right here. It reads, but all these operations are performed by the very same Spirit, distributing to each one respectively, just as it wills. Yeah, you guys know they're going to say it. They're not going to say he, but, because this is going to fit with their theology that the Holy Spirit is a thing, not a person. But if we look at most of the major English translations, in fact, all of the Christian English translations, with the exception of maybe one or two that are more literal in their representation. I'm not going to go back and read down through all these, but just you can see the representation here on my screen. NIV, NLT, ESV, BSB, BLB, KJV, New KJV, NASB, Amplified, Christian Standard, ASV, Dewey Rames, English Revised, all of these. If you go look at them, they all, without exception, if I'm correct, they all talk about the he when it comes to the Holy Spirit. They use the word he in all of these translations. So that's going to be one of the biggest differences. However, in all fairness, if we look at the Greek, and we'll close with this, if we look at the Greek, let's pull up 1 Corinthians 12, verse 11 in the Greek. We have pulled here. The Greek says, Panta de tauta in erge ta hen kai ta auta pneuma dai run idia hekasto katos bouletai. First and foremost, let's look at our word for wills. The Spirit is the one who wills these things into action. Is it the Greek word thelema, like something that he wishes, or is it something a little stronger? Well, you can see it right now. It's bouletai, Strong's number 1014. It's that stronger word that we already looked at earlier. It's that word that once this plan has been decided by this person, either Father, Son, or Holy Spirit, it cannot be thwarted. It cannot be uprooted. It cannot be changed by any other being because God is all-powerful. Therefore, once his will is determined, his bouletai, then that's something that's going to come to pass. It's not going to be thwarted by mere mortals or any other being, whether demonic or otherwise. So that's the word that's chosen in the Greek to express